Episode 33 of the Planet Nintendo podcast. Let's see what's on the menu for today. We're going to be starting a brand new segment, PN Picks, our recent game recommendations. We're going to be talking about Wii U ports, especially that Donkey Kong game. People are hacking the Switch, and we're going to be talking about that. And we have Jesse here. So the next Zelda game, we're going to be giving our predictions. And we have one viewer topic that we're going to share with you. So let's get it started. What is up, dudes? Episode 33. And before we start, why don't we introduce the best co-host on the planet, Joe from Joe After Work. What's up, man?
Oh man, allergies gone right now, dude. I had like the puffy eyes for like the last hour and a half. It was the worst, but I'm doing good. I'm here.
That New England weather, man. It's like 90 all this week. Jeez.
Pollen is strong.
Introducing our very special guest tonight, Mr. GameOver Jesse. What's up, man?
Yes, thank you for the invite. Very happy to be here. Anytime I get an invite for a podcast, I'm always excited. As with any Nintendo fan, I just love discussing Nintendo, speculate on what's to come, games that have come out, all that nonsense is really exciting. So
definitely
happy to be
you're in the
here.
right place, man.
Yeah.
So Jesse, why don't you tell everyone, if they don't know already, I'd be very surprised, but what do you do over there on the channel?
Yeah, so it's myself and a couple of friends. We started out doing Zelda theories for like Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, all the other Zelda games. And then when Zelda Wii U, as it was first known, was announced, we started covering news and stuff for that. And it eventually became Breath of the Wild. But now Breath of the Wild's already out, so talking about it's like beating a dead horse. So now we went back to doing a mix of Zelda theories and like various list videos. Like we had one that I was really proud of, the top 5 biggest mysteries of Ocarina of Time. Ooh. And our most popular videos are videos talking about canceled games. So we have our number 1 video is the top 5 canceled Mario games, which basically goes into detail on various canceled Mario games and stuff. Wow. So
that's awesome, man. You also have a podcast over there, you and Darren?
I completely forgot about the podcast for a moment. Yeah, we have the Hylians Gamescast, nice. Which is, it's now myself, Daniel, my co-host, and our new co-host, who is Kayla. She's been on about 3 episodes now, so she's pretty new, but we always try to have various guests on, so I guess we'll have to return the favor and invite you guys on.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome, man. Yeah, we had nice. We had one of your homies the other week, Miss Click, on here.
So. Oh yeah. She's been on several times. She's always a great friend, co-host, whatever you want her to be. She can do it.
Yeah, man. We're just branching out. We're sharing the love over here. So I think we should start with our brand new topic, or brand new segment, I'd rather say. So PN Picks. So
yes.
I think it was Bobby or someone who was talking about how a lot of podcasts used to give some game recommendations, some indie game recommendations, whatever you're playing. And pretty much it's like what you're playing, but giving recommendations to viewers out there. So I will start with Joe. Any new games you picked up that you want to recommend?
Yes. One that I totally would have not picked up originally, Late Shift. It's like a full-on movie, but with like a telltale spin on it. Full disclosure, that one I randomly had gotten a review code for. Like I didn't even ask for. Like the guy kind of like emailed me over at Wales Interactive. But playing that game last night on stream with like everybody there, we were all into it. It was the weirdest thing. Like, and it's short too. You can do it in like an hour, and it's got like multiple endings and everything.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And then the other one being Shantae Half Genie Hero. It's more Shantae. It's dope.
I gotta ask. I think it was last podcast you were gonna pick up a robot named Fight. Have you played that since?
I got to play a little bit of it. I need more time before I actually have full on thoughts on it, because I didn't give it enough time. But just like the 15 minutes that I got to spend to it, I wasn't feeling it all that much, but I'm gonna give it a fair shot. I'm gonna give it like a solid hour when I actually have like a moment. Work has just been insane for me.
Okay. Not bad, not bad. Jesse, any new pickups over there?
None that are new. Lately, I've just been playing a lot of God of War, and I recently got into Fortnite, which is kind of an older
Nice.
game by now, I guess. But for indie games, I have to recommend Blossom Tales for anyone who is a Zelda fan,
Yes.
because it's essentially, I would say, 99% inspired by A Link to the Past. So anyone who's a fan of like 16-bit style Zelda games, go play it. It's a lot of fun. The story's really good. The dungeons, the levels, the weapons, the items, all of it feels like you could just replace the main character with Link and it would be a Zelda game. So
Wow.
So good.
It is really good. Makes me want to top down Zelda, but we'll get to that later. So I picked up The Long Reach. It's actually on sale. It's kind of like a story-based pixel art, scary type game. I've been into the kind of the narrative games a lot recently, so haven't played enough to kind of give my thoughts, but so far it's really good. And what is another game? Skyforce Reloaded. It is a shmup, and it's only $10, and it's really good. It has really good visuals to it, so if you guys are into shmups, you might want to pick that one up. And I gotta recommend Brawlout. Now, Brawlout has a very, very short lifespan because of the impending doom of Smash. But yeah, Brawlout's a very, very good game. Very grindy though. If you like unlocking stuff, that might be the game for you. But yeah, it has good fight mechanics and it has a pretty good roster. So
Skyforce, real quick, is that like a side-scrolling one? I saw it on the eShop. I didn't realize it was like full-on shmup though.
Yeah, it's top down actually. So you're looking at it kind of like.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's really good.
I need check that out.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a couple of gems coming out in May, but probably next episode we'll get to those. But yeah, PN picks. So if you guys have any picks that you have recently picked up, you can always comment them in the comment section below and let us know. So the first actual topic is a hot one right now, and it is Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze and the whole Wii U port situation and discussion on that. He picked it up. Joe picked it up. So I feel like the big thing here has been the price, and there was this whole thing about Nintendo taking it down from the eShop, and there's just like so much going on with that. I got to go to Jesse. Does this game? Did you play this game first of all?
yeah, I played it on the Wii U at the time. I didn't have too much time to play it, and I think I ended up just like ignoring it after like 2 weeks. I made it maybe halfway through the game, and it is, or at least was on the Wii U, very difficult, which they remedied a little bit, adding in Funky Kong on the Switch, so you can just like ease your way through everything. But now that you can play it on the go, I think I'll be able to put a little bit more time into it than I used to, because if I'm out somewhere, I can just like keep trying to get through the same level over and over if I keep failing. Whereas before, you have to sit in front of the TV for an hour or two, but now you can just take it on the go and keep retrying that level whenever you want. So
yeah. So you're planning on picking that one up again?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to it. I love Donkey Kong, and I know Donkey Kong 64 was a very I don't know if the right word would be controversial, but there was a lot of people that liked it and a lot of people that hated it because it was sort of just a collectathon. And I hope they do something like that, like an adventure style Donkey Kong 64 or like a 3D platformer. I want to see that as the next Donkey Kong game, but for now the 2D platformer Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze is really good if people want to pick it up. It's essentially like, I look at it as Mario, like the 2D Mario, people that are fans of it, but for experts. So like if Mario seems too easy, then move on to Donkey Kong.
It's quite a jump. That game is balls hard. So Joe, I gotta ask, because like there's a whole debate of like, is this game worth it? And I think people are kind of comparing it to, of course, the price now for Wii U. It is like a 4-year-old game. But do you think that Nintendo do they have a certain responsibility to add stuff to these ports, or do you think they should just be able to put these out and charge whatever?
At the end of the day, as much as I hate to say it, they can charge what they want at the end of the day. I don't necessarily agree with that. Granted, you know, we had things like Bayonetta 1 and 2 just straight up ports as well, and that was a full price game, although albeit it was you know, you paid what, $50 for, no, sorry, $40 for Bayonetta 2, and then you got a discount to get Bayonetta 1 for $20 or something like that on Switch. It worked out somehow where you weren't paying like 40 and $30
Yeah.
for both games or whatever. It's neat that they did add the Funky Kong mode. There's like an easier mode for folks who just want to, like, you know, mess around with the game and whatnot. And of course, I mean, who better than to throw in Funky Kong into the game like that? I totally agree with Jesse's statement of, like, it is, you know, if you're tired of just playing Mario games, that's a really good comparison. Like, Donkey Kong will add the extra challenge for that. That's usually been the case. I mean, going back to Donkey Kong Country, it's a pretty difficult game. You know, just playing through that series, the original Donkey Kong Country series in general on the SNES. I honestly, with this one, I didn't even think about the price when I did pick it up, because I have that weird gamers unlocked skewed mentality where it's like I'm already getting the discount. So I honestly didn't even think about it this time around. But
Yeah.
Also, I'm usually the one that points out, like, why the hell is this game like this much more when it's been out on everything else for X amount of price now. So yeah, that one, I can see why people wouldn't want to pick it up right off the bat, especially if they own a Wii and it's, you know, change at this point in comparison to it being on Switch.
Yeah, I mean, the pricing aside, like, real talk, I think that this game is probably like one in the top 3 in terms of Wii U games. Like, this game is excellent. Like, in terms of like 2D platformers, pricing, I mean, who's to say if this game is worth it or not? I mean, Kirby came out a couple months ago, and that was a full price game. So,
but with your wallet at this point,
exactly. Like, are you gonna have fun? Yeah, like, are you gonna have fun with this particular game? I do think that Nintendo should add a little bit more than a character. I feel like they could have added a little bit more, maybe new levels or, I don't know, B-sides, make it even harder.
Yeah. I mean, is that possible?
Yeah, right.
I mean, question, like, I like most Donkey Kong games, I probably not finish a Donkey Kong game since SNES and Game Boy era Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
It becomes one of those things, like, I start a Donkey Kong game and it never finishes. I mean, is the game beefy? I would imagine, like most DK games,
It's pretty lengthy.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, you can get easily discouraged with the game though, because like the first 2 worlds is very like, oh, this is nice, and then it like
and then it kind of smacks you in the face.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
The pricing for me, with it just being like essentially the same game as the Wii U version with the extra character, I'm not exactly sure what all they've added in, but we see other Wii U games that have been ported to Switch, like Pokken Tournament Deluxe or Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and then Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, which all have, like, they were all successful on the Wii U, ported to the Switch, and has, like, they're basically, instead of a full sequel, they're like 1.5. So they have extra characters, extra levels, whatever DLC was already included, all of that stuff. And then Donkey Kong Country comes along, and it seems like it's the one that hasn't followed that same pattern. Like, they didn't put as much effort into it, but they're still charging the same amount. So
yeah, it sticks out in that regard. So
it almost makes you wonder if like, what the sales were for this on Wii U, to just kind of throw it out as how it is to for a Switch version. maybe it didn't sell as well. I mean, again, I don't know sales numbers on the Wii U version, but like maybe it didn't sell as well as some of the other Wii U games that they feel like they can get away with selling this version. Again, I'm not trying to like defend it or anything. I'm just trying to like think the thought process and be like, okay, most people haven't played this game for and you know, for a lot of Switch owners, it might be their first Donkey Kong game. Let's just throw it out there and add this, you know, easy mode for easier mode or something like that for them.
An easy, sorry.
Oh no, you can go. You can go.
I was gonna say like an easy way that they could have gotten around this is with Bayonetta. Whenever they released Bayonetta 2 for the Wii U, they had Bayonetta 1 come with it for free or whatever the pricing difference was. So with this, I would have imagined, since they already ported the original Donkey Kong Country Returns from the Wii to the 3DS, someone at some point had to have worked on it for the Wii U or the Switch, I imagine, to like just experiment before they started working on Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. And then maybe they just like took the engine and then worked on new games instead of whatever. I don't know what the situation is, but it seems like an easy way to get around it instead of creating new levels is not just port the Wii U Donkey Kong Country Returns, but also port the Wii or 3DS version of Donkey Kong Country Return, like the original Returns. That way you essentially get two games in one. They can still charge the $60. And if someone, like if someone played the Wii version and loved it, or played the 3DS version and loved it, but never played the sequel, then they get to re-experience the game that they used to love as well as the new one. Or if they just played the Wii U version, then they get to experience the first one. So
yeah, that would have been nice. That would have been nice.
Or they could have just added Donkey Konga with motion controls. I'm just saying, I'm done. That's it.
Man. I guarantee though, I don't know the Wii U numbers. Like, I don't know if it sold over 1 million or whatever.
Yeah.
Guarantee that this game outsells the Wii U version by like month 2. Like, it's just like if Kirby can sell 1.5 million, this one's gonna at least double that. So they'll keep making them. Any quick predictions? Are we done with any other Wii U ports you could see coming out? Looks like Smash is a new game.
Dude, we're far from over. Come on.
This might go a little bit into the next, or one of the next topics with whatever the next Zelda game is, but I could see before the end of 2019, I could see Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD, the Wii U remakes, being either released separately or clumped together as one $60 purchase and then put out.
That would be killer if they did that. I mean, I'm not the biggest Wind Waker fan, but that would be worth the $60.
Yeah, that would be really nice if they package them together, though. That'd be really nice.
Yeah,
Joe, you have a topic.
Oh yeah,
coming up.
Word.
Over Mario Maker.
Mario Maker, what? Pikmin 3, beautiful, Wonderful 101. I keep saying beautiful 101. I just want a beautiful Joe game. I'm sorry. But yeah, so my topic was, there's been the new everywhere now at this point. Switch is pretty much got this major hardware flaw where you stick a pin inside the right Joy-Cons in a specific area, and it sets it into USB mode, USB save mode, or something like that, safe mode, and you're able to then just basically hack your Switch. With this major flaw, a lot of people are saying that, oh, Nintendo's got to revise the Switch now. We have no choice. My question for you guys is it really necessary? Does this mean we absolutely need to have to get an upgraded Switch to prevent, like, does Nintendo really have to do anything at this point to make a new Switch that's going to be hardware hackable preventative, I guess, for lack of a better phrase for that?
So they're able to add what, like more games? And
with this point, yeah, I don't know if we're just yet able to get like full-on homebrew games just yet, but this is sort of like the gateway to be like, okay, doing this is going to allow us to get onto the back end and really delve in and just mess with the Switch to be able to add homebrew, be able to add further emulation onto the Switch itself, without going through all these crazy software hacks.
Yeah.
Have you seen there's a new video that one of my subscribers shared with me, and we talked about it on last week's podcast, but there was a video of, I forgot what the name, like Flow something. Was it a group of the hackers or the user?
Oh,
But
failover, right?
Fallover, I think
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. And he or they had Wind Waker, so like a GameCube emulator working on the Switch.
Crazy.
Jeez.
Crazy.
So yeah, I don't know if that, like, the process that you're talking about is what leads to them putting the GameCube emulator on, but just as with any console, like, it seems everything has been hacked at some point. As for a new iteration of the console from Nintendo, I think it's just a matter of time. I've made this point a few times, but every single Nintendo console until the Wii U had some form of an upgrade or a new version. So the original Famicom had the Famicom disk drive that added a little bit more processing power, more storage for games. The Super Nintendo had the Satellaview and some other attachments that added, like, pseudo internet capabilities. The Nintendo 64 had the failed disk drive. The GameCube had like a part at the bottom that let you add internet connection. The Wii had the mini Wii, whatever it was called, that didn't have,
Oh, yeah.
like, it was more of a downgrade instead of an upgrade. But then you get the Wii U, and we just had the Wii U. And then in terms of handhelds, the Game Boy had the Game Boy Color. The Game Boy Advance had the SP. The DS had like 6 different versions with the DSi, DS Lite, DSi XL. The 3DS had, there was an interview where after the 3DS came out, there was a reporter interviewing Miyamoto, the creator of Mario, Zelda, and all the other amazing games, where they asked him, what do you have to say to the people that are waiting to buy a 3DS XL? Because with the DS, you eventually had the DS IXL, or the bigger version. So what do you say to all of the people who want to buy a 3DS but they're waiting for the next version? And during the interview, he, like, I don't want to say he lied, because when you're under contract, there's certain stuff that you can't say.
Yeah.
But he basically told them the 3DS, Nintendo's seen it basically perfect as is, that there's no point in releasing a newer version. 3 months later, they announced the 3DS XL. And then not only do they announce the 3DS XL, they eventually have the 2DS, the new 2DS XL, the new 3DS, and the new 3DS XL. So when he says the 3DS is perfect as is, we're not going to be releasing another version, so those people can go and buy the 3DS without fear. A newer, better version is going to come out. They ended up releasing 5 more versions.
Wow.
So with
Yeah.
the Nintendo Switch, there was a recent interview where they said that they had no plans for the Switch, like a new version of the Switch to come out, but I see it the same as like any other marketing speech. They want to sell as many as they can before they push out the new version. So we literally, except for the Virtual Boy, went through almost every single one of Nintendo's main line of consoles, and every single one has had some sort of new iteration. So I think it's just a matter of time till the Switch gets its version. Whatever that looks like, who knows?
Yeah.
It could be like 3D or Switch XL with like a larger screen or whatever.
Yeah, that's actually a good point, because for the longest time, especially on this podcast, we would always be like, well, which one is it? The XL, the Mini? I feel like after that big sales pitch, I feel like they do both. Why not do both? I mean, this is
Do a
literally
whole line.
their handhelds, of the future, and I don't really think that past 2019, like they're saying, I don't think the 3DS makes it past that, and it shouldn't, because you have this great machine, all these games coming over. I feel like they make both. In terms of hackers, though, I feel I have 2 mindsets, because it's kind of like who you are as a person. Like, some people are like, oh, I can do whatever I want to my console, but I feel like Nintendo should try as long as they can to uphold the integrity of it, and kind of like try to limit it. I know it's always going to happen, but I would like them to kind of do things. But look at our friend the PSP. That's literally
Yep.
like a mess of a hacking system. So I don't know. I would like to see them take measures and stuff like that, but I think that will come in the next iteration. It has to happen.
The easiest way Nintendo could stop, I would say, like half of the people that are interested in hacking their system is if they finally just released Virtual Console, because
Yeah.
like I don't think whoever's curious and trying to hack their system is going to do it anyway. But if someone is just really desperate to play A Link to the Past on their Switch and they have no other option, I think 90% of the time that's what resorts to it. So if Nintendo's like, hey, just pay $7, $8 and you can play it legally with no worry about it bricking your system if it updates or something, or if you mess up during the patch or whatever you're doing, instead of ruining your Nintendo Switch, you can play it. Nintendo probably makes better software emulation than anyone else does anyway, since they understand how it works. So you'd have a better experience. It would be legal, no risk of bricking your system. You wouldn't like ruin the warranty or anything if you drop it and you need to get it fixed. So yeah, the easiest way is, instead of releasing a new iteration, just release games that people are hacking their system to play.
Yeah.
So that's just my thought.
No,
Joe,
yeah.
what do you think about this, man?
I think you guys actually hit every point that I was thinking, which is awesome. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I ultimately don't feel like they need to rush into a newer Switch, or a Switch that has like an updated Integra chip that's not going to cause these like simple hardware hacks. Especially if it's gonna sell them more Switches at the end of the day, regardless of if they end up getting people that aren't going to buy the software, that's still profit for them kind of at the end of the day. So if they're staying silent on it and focusing on things that are other hardware issues like the Joy-Cons and the antenna placements, being updated and possibly rolled out, in future Switch console packaging and whatnot, that's fine. That's cool. I don't think we need to like rush into a brand new hardware system. Would it be cool if, if it's worth it to have a bigger screen? Absolutely. Will I be there? Yes, but I think I'm cool with I think everyone's going to be okay. There's no I don't think we need to freak out. It just means that it's better for everybody overall. More Switches get out there, and hey, maybe some of those people that were trying to hack it to play an older game might end up being interested in playing one of those Switch titles. And apparently it doesn't seem to be messing with any of the updates or anything like that, so as far as we know. So yeah, that's another huge thing.
There was now I don't know the source of this, but there was a E3 leak apparently. It was on like a forum or something, I don't know. And they were talking about some virtual console stuff. And apparently from the leak, they said that GBA and SNES, and I think NES games were going to be the first like wave of virtual console to come out.
Don't tease me, Pat. Tease me.
GBA, I'm teasing you with that GBA. But they were saying things like the pricing. They were going to change up the pricing a little bit. I wanted to ask you guys, should they change the pricing for those? Because I feel like SNES games have been like $7.99 for a while now. So do they change the pricing with that? Or are they gonna keep it?
I remember the way they kind of justified making you rebuy the same games for the people that moved from the Wii to Wii U was like, if you already own Super Mario Bros. 3 on the Wii, then when you go to the Wii U to buy it on the eShop, it'll just be $2 or $3 as opposed to paying whatever the full price is. I imagine the games would be about the same as they are on the Wii U eShop. I don't really think they would change.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope they implement some sort of deal like they did with the Wii U. That way, for someone who's buying Super Mario Bros. 3 for the third, fourth, or fifth time, if they bought it on like the 3DS, the Wii, the Wii U, almost every single console that Nintendo offers it on, then they've paid, for the same game. They've legally bought the game 5 or 6 times. It should have some sort of way for you to tie it in to only pay like $2 to get that game instead of the full
Looking
price.
at you, Joe.
Oh,
No, I
shame.
completely agree. And the leaker also said that they were getting rid of the virtual console in favor of Nintendo Classics. So I don't know if it comes true. Good job, leaker. So now going into the big topic, we have the Zelda expert here. So we're gonna be talking about the next Zelda game and Breath of the Wild. I cannot say enough about it. It's been such a big success for the system, and even on the Wii U, it's had some pretty good sales. So I'm gonna ask you guys. Bless you. I'm gonna ask you guys, what is the next Zelda game? Where do they go from here? Do they keep the same engine? I gotta start with Jesse, man.
I would say they would have to be stupid not to keep the same engine, since the reason Breath of the Wild was delayed so many times was because they kept going back trying to perfect the engine over and over. There's interviews where they they would change like one small thing within the engine, and they would go back to play the game, and when the wind would blow, there would be an apple just fly across the screen because the one change they made completely changed the way the physics worked. So they'd have to go in and like keep fixing everything until it was perfect. Otherwise, like you could pick up like something really heavy, or you wouldn't pick it up, but like something really heavy would be moving way too fast, or something really light would just be barely rolling along. And they put so much work into it that I can't see them not using it. But I think that game is like 3 years away at the least.
Yeah.
Well, maybe now 2 years, but like 3 years from Breath of the Wild's release. But Nintendo at all times, just as with Mario, has separate teams working on separate games. So they have the handheld Mario team and the main console Mario team, and they have the handheld Zelda team and the home console Zelda team. So they have like the home console team worked on like Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, where the handheld team would work on Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks, A Link Between Worlds. And the team that worked on A Link Between Worlds, there hasn't been a handheld Zelda game since Triforce Heroes, and that was about 3 years ago. And traditionally, the handheld team just takes 2 to 3 years. So Spirit Tracks came out 2 years after Phantom Hourglass, A Link Between Worlds came out 3 years after that, and then Triforce Heroes came out 2 years after that. And it's been 3 years since the last handheld game. So if the pattern that has continued for the past 10 years comes, then this year at E3 we should at least get something about a handheld Zelda game. And during an interview with Game Informer promoting Breath of the Wild, they asked Aonuma if they were working on a handheld Zelda game or a 2D Zelda game, and he said that they were. And the only thing that he mentioned about it was he wants to evolve what you think, or what the normal player thinks of a 2D Zelda game. I don't know what that means. You could take that any way you want, because to me, if you look at Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks, and A Link Between Worlds, Triforce Heroes, basically any game that has come after the creation of the DS, so any handheld Zelda game, hasn't really been 2D, because the characters and the models have all been 3D models. It's just the camera angle is top down, so it looks 2D or 2.5D. So to me, that's already evolved what a 2D Zelda game is, because they're using 3D assets and 3D models to make a 2D game. So I don't know where they could go from there to make it like evolve it even more, but I would love to see. And then you also have people like Tantalus worked on Twilight Princess HD. We don't like, there was rumors they're working on Skyward Sword HD, since they did such a good job with Twilight Princess HD.
A new legend game.
Yeah, there was Grezzo, who did the remakes for A Link Between Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask 3D, and they helped on Triforce Heroes. So they are finishing up on, I think they're the ones that's working on the Luigi's Mansion GameCube port to the 3DS, and they also had Ever Oasis,
Okay.
which came out a while back. and those games should both be done. So they could be working on their own Zelda game. I always thought, since they worked on Ocarina of Time 3D and Majora's Mask 3D, they would be perfect to create a third Hero of Time game. So just like a new Zelda game that follows that same link after Majora's Mask. So yeah, and there could be any number of third-party developers, like the people that worked on Hyrule Warriors. Like they could have a partnership with someone else to create some other Zelda spinoff. We don't know. So yeah. There's a lot of information to take in, but that's like all the different possibilities of Zelda games that could possibly be coming out within the next few years.
Okay. So Joe, the E3 conference is done. Okay. The lights have gone down. We've all seen Pokemon doing backflips. And then they start doing the Treehouse Live. Now we got a big bombshell last year with Samus Returns.
Dude.
Do we see another Zelda come onto the 3DS, or is the
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Like if they're doing oh my god. If they're doing a everything's falling apart. If they're going to do like a 2D traditional top-down Zelda, I imagine that being the 3DS take on it, while the Switch focuses on, like Jesse was saying, they'd be crazy to not continue off that engine. And we've had conversations here on the show in past episodes where we were talking about, you know, what's next after Breath of the Wild. I still think the Switch will continue with using that engine. I would go as ballsy as saying they continue where Breath of the Wild leaves off and creates a true sequel, kind of like what we got with Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask. But I think, oh man, that would be wild if we got a 3DS new Zelda game and not a remake, not Triforce Heroes. I'm not a big fan of like the multiplayer Zelda games. It was never up my alley. They're cool for a few minutes, and then that's it for me personally. But I would love a fresh story on the handheld. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I know people were talking about like Link's Awakening remake or whatever. Personally, that would be amazing for me. It's my favorite Zelda game. I'm the weirdo, I know. It's that and Ocarina of Time right afterwards, but I would love to see a fresh one just pop up during, like Patrick, like what you were saying, Nintendo Treehouse. Boom. Wait, what? 10 minutes in? What is this?
I remember last year I was like, oh, I'm not going to watch the Treehouse, and all of a sudden, bomb after bomb. I was like, okay, I'm listening. I mean, I'm not really a big 3DS fan anymore, but it was still cool to see. It made people excited for a little bit. I'm under the I'm in the camp where I'm in the camp where I think we might get sort of a remake or a remaster. That seems to be a big trend right now, and I think Nintendo's kind of like on par with that. What Jesse was saying earlier, I would love to see Wind Waker and Twilight Princess in a combo pack. It would kind of be unfortunate if it was released again, like individually. But dude, playing Wind Waker on a handheld, come on, man.
Another big thing to think about is this year is the 20th anniversary of Ocarina of Time. Ooh. So there would never be, unless they're going to make us wait for the 25th anniversary, there's never been a more perfect time to like celebrate Ocarina of Time on the 20th anniversary than with an official HD remake. Especially like there's the popularity of all of the fan-made Unreal Engine Ocarina of Time stuff going on.
So good.
So like for Nintendo to release their own HD version, even if it was just a 3DS version ported and up-resed with like a few character model changes and stuff, I think that would be good enough. They wouldn't have to go all in and completely remake it from the ground up. They could just port over the 3DS version and allow it to run in HD.
Yeah, it was like Cryo, right? I think is that dude's name that did the Unreal Tournament. That stuff looks amazing. Like I would recommend anybody after watching this episode go check that out. Just Google, YouTube search, Ocarina of Time Unreal Engine. It looks crazy.
There's no way that would be able to run on the Switch though.
I mean, but
that's the downside.
Now, here's something, and I don't know if this would be possible. It seems like Breath of the Wild has been a pretty big investment. Lots of delays, setbacks. Of course, the Switch was being introduced as well, so that was a setback. Any possibility of a season 2 DLC at all for Breath of the Wild?
Personally, for me, yeah, I could see that, or I can see them just being completely quiet right now, and coming to E3 2019, come out with a new trailer for an upcoming Zelda game that is the continuation of that story, making it fresh. But at the same time, if they say something like as simple as in the middle of their E3 presentation, 2019 more Breath of the Wild DLC, and whatever, Zelda's journey, whatever it happens, spoilers, sorry, you had time, at the ending of the game, continuing off from, Zelda being back in action and continuing off on her quest to restore Hyrule.
Yeah. I mean, not that there's not enough content already, but
no.
Season 2, Jesse,
just not more shrines.
Am I crazy or what?
I think that it's a possibility. There was an interview where Aonuma said that Breath of the Wild, or maybe it was one of the other people that worked on the game, but they said Breath of the Wild was complete, that there wouldn't be any more DLC for it. They were going to focus on the next Zelda game. But I think, like, the same as when Miyamoto said that they weren't going to focus on a new iteration of the 3DS, or whenever Nintendo said that the Switch was going to be a third pillar for Nintendo and not replace the Wii U. I think it's just like them wanting to save the surprise or just marketing speech. So if they said, yes, expect new DLC next year, that would ruin a surprise that they may have had planned for E3.
Yeah.
So don't always take what Nintendo says as like 100% truth, because sometimes they misguide you, so they can end up surprising you.
Like that Metroid pin, Reggie, I'm looking at you. I'll never forget. Just to add on to what Jesse is saying, like, Nintendo's in this weird state right now of like, Switch is doing really great this past year, and we're seeing all these, like, Nintendo taking steps to show that, we're willing to put out the content, we're willing to be daring and throw all this stuff out year one, and then year two kind of like, take it back a bit, let third parties really hammer in, let indies kind of support the Switch there while we bring out some of these ports to focus on the newer stuff that we'll show later down the road. At the same time, when Nintendo's sort of like finished with a game's core story, they then are starting on the DLC stuff. Like, they're not doing it beforehand, like with Breath of the Wild being the perfect example. That game was finally finished, and then they started showing the deal, like saying like, hey, here's what we have planned for DLC. It wasn't intended, but hey, we're starting this now, like a couple weeks before Switch launches, and we had that trailer of like DLC pack 1, DLC pack 2 with like zero information. So it's like they're willing to just be like, okay, this seems like this is going to do good, play the waiting game, and then show the DLC afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, it's a way for people to go back to the game too. Like, I'm still not convinced Odyssey is done. Like, we're probably going to get some more content for that too. So I don't know. Your big Switch game, I'm all for season 2, but it'd be nice to, I've been playing, it was funny because I finished Blossom Tales, so I would love a top down or like anything like that on the Switch. But yeah. So to end off the show, we have a viewer topic from Mr. Joey Splats.
Joey Splats.
It is about Nintendo Selects. And we're a year in, and we're talking about Nintendo Selects already. So are there any games you think should be Nintendo Selects? Or any games you could see being, this is kind of weird to talk about, but yeah. Nintendo Selects, Joe. What you got?
So this is future Nintendo Switch games that could be a Nintendo Select?
Yeah.
Okay.
He holds up the newest game.
Well, that would honestly, like, I could see that, ARMS, like these B tier games that no one cares too much about.
Damn.
Yeah. Lego City
Yeah.
Undercover.
Well, like if it was a brand new, if it was like Donkey Kong Country Returns 3, then I could see people caring more about it. But I think a lot of people are just gonna look at this and be like, it's just the Wii U version. Whereas with like Mario Kart 8 and like Splatoon got a full sequel, but all of the other Wii U ports, as we talked about earlier, there was there was stuff there that wasn't in the original that made you want to buy it. With this, it's literally the same game with an easy mode where you play as Funky Kong. So it's I don't see like too much of a reason for people to care about this unless they're just big Donkey Kong fans or completely skipped it. But I think most people who wanted to play it probably already played it. So that's where I look at Donkey Kong. And yeah, like if there was a game that you could guarantee would drop to like $20 or $30, I would say it would be that game. But like Splatoon 2 would be a good game to make around the $20-$30 level, and then that would get people who don't want to put out a full $60, but if it's half price, then they might want to do it. And then maybe you could get those people to somehow go out buy Amiibo, which would make Nintendo even more money. There's the Octo Pass
Yep. The
Yeah.
expansion.
DLC that's coming out that maybe half the people that buy the game end up buying that. That's more money for Nintendo. So lowering the price, although they're making less money from Splatoon 2, in the end, they end up making more money because all those people that wouldn't have had the game are now buying the DLC, they're buying the Amiibo, they're buying maybe extra Joy-Cons to match. So, yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were crazy there for a second, but that actually makes quite a bit of sense. Especially with the online coming, I feel like they should have one online game that select. But if you're looking at it right now, I feel like 1-2 Switch would be a really good one. Maybe Super Bomberman R. I know that that's releasing on Xbox and PS4 soon, so maybe make it $20 on the Switch. Make them buy it on the Switch.
Yeah. I have no idea why 1-2 Switch was a full price game.
Oh man! Luckily, I did not get it, but
oh, damn it!
Joe's still milking cows over it.
Oh, crappies! I had a thing, but now I have to take a work call. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna mute myself. I'll be right back.
Oh, it's all good.
So with 1-2 Switch, I feel that if that game, it could have not launched any time but at the very beginning of the Switch's lifetime, because if it came out now after we have Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Splatoon, all of these other great games, especially Pokemon and Smash Brothers coming out, so no one is going to go into GameStop, Walmart, Target, or look online at Amazon and see 1-2 Switch and then see Smash Brothers, or see 1-2 Switch and see Mario Odyssey and choose 1-2 Switch. Like no one is going to do that unless they've just never played video games before. So yeah, like that's the only, like they were smart putting it at the very beginning of the Switch's life cycle, but there's other than that, there's still no reason it should have been the full $60. Like it could have launched at like $30. I even felt the same way about Arms. Arms was a game that was like, if it was $30, it would have been a cool, fun fighter, but for the full $60 price tag, it didn't interest me.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, you said Splatoon 2. I feel like there's a lot of content there to make it a select. Maybe Arms would be a great choice, and 1-2 Switch has to drop at some point. But maybe like some of the Wii U games, just they make a straight port of them and they call them like Wii U Selects or some kind of select game. That game, it's a good game for whoever's listening to this or watching this. It's a great game. Like, please play it somehow. But
I don't know if you guys mentioned this. Sorry, I didn't. Gosh. Anyway, the like games that have DLC, like we're seeing the starter pack stuff with Splatoon, and then Splatoon the game itself at like a lower price in some stores.
Yeah.
But like even seeing like a Nintendo Selects version of like things like Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, I'm just looking at my Switch games right now, and like that would be perfect to just have that game, you know, at a slightly lower price, but with all the DLC included. At this point, you know, it's sold its fair share of games. Now let's like get a bundle edition that's slightly more cost effective at a Nintendo Selects price. Same thing with like Breath of Wild. Have it the game with the 2 bonus DLC codes inside, like inside of it, at a, you know, even if it's like $10 cheaper, $15 cheaper. Excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, okay, no sneeze. Man, everything's happening today. Like things like that, like making the most bang for your buck at this point out of games that aren't. And I know that this is like so not Nintendo to severely discount games, but throwing them into that Nintendo Selects version with that crammed on content instead of calling it a definitive edition, a game of the year edition, or anything like that.
Yeah. So I recently, well, not recently, about a couple months ago, got an Xbox, and Xbox is doing this thing where with Game Pass, their service, they're offering games that are brand new for free. So Sea of Thieves and State of Decay and stuff like that. Any chance that I know I joked like 2 episodes ago about Smash being free with the online service. Could Nintendo do something? I don't think Smash is way too hot. That's a system seller, but could they make a new IP with online service, or offer maybe ARMS becomes free if you get the online service, just to push a online community at all? Could you guys see Nintendo doing that?
I see like Splatoon 2 and ARMS are only fun if you are playing online. So
Yeah.
there is almost no point for me of playing them single player.
Yeah.
So I couldn't see them being like, oh, you buy the pass and you get this game for free. But they did mention like the virtual console being tied in with it, where you got
Yep.
the 1 free game a month as long as you keep the service, and they add in online play with that. So I think like one that they talked about was like the original Super Mario Kart or something, and then
Yeah,
they
it was
added
like
an
Super
online
Mario
play.
Brothers 3.
Oh, was that the one?
Yeah.
Balloon
Balloon fight, which would be
Yeah.
dope online. Yeah.
And Ice Climbers? No, that wasn't the third one on there. There was
I
a
don't know
third
what
game
the
on
third
there.
one was.
Yeah. There's 3 games. I just can't remember the third one.
Yeah. So like, I think for now that'll be enough for them. Like I honestly just couldn't see them giving away this larger game that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think, especially with the price tag, I don't necessarily think that they need to entice people to get the internet or anything like that. So but yeah, anything else to add on to that, Joe?
No,
I see you,
yeah.
man. I
I'm
see
look
you.
just looking real quick. Yeah, Balloon Fight, Dr. Mario, and Super Mario Brothers 3 were the 3 games that they
Okay,
showed
Dr.
in the
Mario.
classic game selection. So, don't know if they're going to change that name come September. Yeah, I mean, I would say that's probably still the way they're going to go. If they're going to give us free games, it'll probably be the classic games, the older generation games. They'd be nuts to they would be like every like Sony and Xbox trying to compete, and the quality of games, if we got those for free once a month, would be bananas. But I just don't see them doing it with the newer games. I would totally see them sticking to this like classic game selection style thing, which is unique. We haven't seen something like that before.
Yeah.
Where it's like a full on dedication of old school games being built up for multiplayer. Sega's done it with a few of their games, but outside of that, I can't really think of anyone else that's really like gone on to like recode their games to have online play.
Yeah.
Capcom with Street Fighter. There we go. That's the other one.
Yeah. And I mean, you're getting people that probably haven't had Nintendo Give them some free classic games. Everyone's happy.
Just throwing
But, I
games
think-
like it's hotcakes.
But I think that's all for today. Thank you so much, Jesse, for coming on. And why
Yes,
don't you
thank
sign
you.
off?
for the
Where can
invite.
people find you?
Yeah, well, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, everything is at GameOver Jesse. So, yeah, that's basically like I know some people have like different YouTube URLs than their Twitter or their Instagram and everything, but for me, everything's just the same. So I got lucky. So
Yeah.
if you enjoy videos or podcast discussions like this, there are plenty on my channel. So please check it out. And thank you
Yeah.
guys for inviting me on.
This is
Yeah,
awesome.
man, no problem. Go check them out, guys. Check them out. Joe, where can they find you?
Everything at Joe After Work, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, joeafterwork.com.
All right. And if you're watching the video version, you want to be on NintenTalk, Instagram, Twitter. Audio is, I'm going to update you guys on that. But thank you so much, guys. And we will see you in the next episode. Have a good one.